Hi everyone, it's the Kingpin here from Daredevil on HeelvsBabyface. 2020's been a bit of a funny old year, hasn't it, really? We've all gone through the coof and stuff like that, but in terms of business, a lot of games been pushed back because of it, trying to find their release dates, leaks, controversy. Oh well, none more so than Naughty Dog. At the very beginning of this year, I think The Last of Us Part 2 was due to come out in February initially. And at the beginning of this year, I think the vast majority of people that you asked whether or not they're excited for this game would have said yes. Very much so. There'd been a 7-year gap between the first one and the second part. And for all we knew, there was no reason to worry or panic or to have any concern about the game. Then, of course, it got delayed. Then it got, I think, maybe delayed a third time or postponed indefinitely due to the coof with no release date set. And then the big one, the leaks. The leaks came out about The Last of Us Part 2. We went through the leaks, the royal we, myself included, and the game sounded like an unmitigated disaster. It sounded like an intersectional, political load of shite. Exactly what we didn't want. What we wanted or hoped for was a continuation of the relationship between Joel and Ellie and how things had progressed or potentially regressed. Depending on the end of the first game, the end which of course was very open-ended. But no, the decision was made to kill Joel off very early in the game, very stupidly as well. Introduce some steroid-driven crazy bint called Abby that ripped babies' heads off and drunk their blood to survive. That last bit, folks, didn't quite happen, but it might as well have. And then, of course, just turn Ellie into some mopey, just mopey, awful, horrible person. Everyone in the game was just a horrible person. And it made for a miserable, awful, terrible, boring experience for the most part. But, of course, Naughty Dog didn't want people talking about them, and so they struck down a bunch of our channels that were discussing things, and there's a whole palaver with Muso, Sony, and Naughty Dog, and we ended up winning. We ended up making Naughty Dog release our copyright strikes, which they had maliciously put against our channel as it went against fair use, as well as being an abuse, a complete and utter abuse of the YouTube copyright system. We know this story. And we know how it ended. I predicted, of course, I think anyone with a brain cell would have predicted that The Last of Us Part 2 was going to sell very well because most normies would not have seen everything that went on, would not have been on YouTube, would not have seen the controversy. The controversy, of course, which was not reported by mainstream media because they were bought and paid for. The same mainstream media, by the way, which has been voted and will continue to vote The Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year simply because two women rub their vaginas together. Oh yeah, and another woman looks like the Incredible fucking Hulk. And so we got our channels back, we got our copyright strikes rescinded, and Neil Cuckmann admitted after Naughty Dog had denied knowing anything about it, that he was on the phone immediately after the leaks came out, making decisions about pulling channels down, pulling this information down. So he was all part of the process. When The Last of Us 2 released, even though it sold well initially, as mentioned, the critical response from gamers, not from the mainstream media, because they're just full of shit and nobody even listens to them anymore. For the most part, anyway. And that's what gets them mad. The critical response from gamers was not good. A resounding thumbs down on the story, on the treatment of the characters. There's a bit of misinformation that people were just mad because Joel died. No, we weren't mad that Joel died. It was the manner in which Joel was killed off. And then the stupid story with Ellie and the stupid story with Abby, which was just garbage, hot garbage. So that was the major problems with the game. The game was very much open for this criticism. A lot of the criticism was valid. I'm not going to deny that channels like myself, of course, which have been hit with copyright strikes from Muso, Sony, Naughty Dog, had a bit of a bee in the bonnet. But I could say subjectively that I thought that the story was garbage. And that's why we were speaking out against it and being critical of it. If the leaks in the story show that the story is going to be, you know, sad, melancholy, whatever, but was going to be an interesting and good story that respected the characters of Ellie and Joel, I don't think there would have been a kerfuffle at all. No, it was this. It was obviously what we got. So, of course, with the Golden Joystick Awards last week or the week before, it got voted Game of the Year. It was laughable. But at the same time, you know that Cuckmann, because he's been very passive-aggressive on social media since it came out, because he can't handle the criticism. He can't handle that people rejected his pathetic identity politic game. And so whenever he looks at his trophy, he'll know that it's a participation award and nothing more. Sales of the game, of course, grinding to an absolute halt. So much so that the company themselves recut a trailer for the Game Awards in an effort to try and sell some copies for Christmas at a vastly reduced rate. But game stores aren't even taking it in anymore because they've just got too many copies that were traded in. So with all of that, of course, Neil Cuckmann gets promoted to co-president of Naughty Dog. In a statement, they say, as we close out a year that's seen its challenges, as we all live through a global pandemic, there have been bright moments too. Orala! Naughty Dog president Evan Wells says, at an all-studio meeting today, we announced some well-deserved promotions. Neil Cuckmann now joins me as co-president of Naughty Dog. Now, Cuckers then took to TwitTwat to say a couple of pieces about it. Excited to help lead the most amazing group of devs with my friend and mentor Evan Wells. And big congrats to other people who got promotions too. Oh, I think this last one's a threat. I'll still be directing and writing while helping to mentor the next wave of creators. Well, that's the end of Naughty Dog then, because if they're going to continue the same route that they went with The Last of Us Part 2, then this ain't going to be a company worth bothering about. To be perfectly honest with you. And, of course, although it sold well initially, even though sales have completely dried up after about 2 weeks or so, you have to look at the far-reaching impact of this, as the fan base has been complete and utterly divided. Yes, you have all your people who want to tick a box celebrating it, but then you've got gamers who just want to have a good, fun experience rejecting it. And gamers, in the most part, if they don't get what they want, then they won't purchase your game anymore. They won't purchase your products anymore. So, although it might not be felt in The Last of Us Part 2, it'll be interesting to see how sales are felt on their next franchise or their next game, whatever it may be. And whether or not there will be a Last of Us Part 3 and whether or not there will be an interest in it, of course. But this Thursday, we've got the Game Awards coming up. I personally doubt I'll be watching it because I'll be playing Cyberpunk 2077 and I'm probably having a gay old time on it as well. Cannot wait. But Cuckers took to Twitter again, and this from the president of Naughty Dog. Last of Us fans, activate. As a bonus, for every vote you cast for The Last of Us Part 2, a hater loses their caps lock. Well, it's good to know that loads of people haven't been paying rent this year because they've been living rent-free in Cucker's head. This guy is broken and damaged because of the rejection and reaction to The Last of Us Part 2. And it's interesting that he seems to, although one could say this is a little bit of a light-hearted tweet, I think by the kissy face and all, this is a very passive-aggressive tweet, which goes alongside most of Cucker's passive-aggressive tweets, because he cannot handle the fact his game was rejected. But more so, anybody that even criticizes the game is classed as a Last of Us 2 hater. Just because someone dislikes your game, they're a hater. We've got here, as a former fan of Naughty Dog, who had bought all the Uncharted series and was a huge fan of the first Last of Us, it's sad to see what the company has come to. I will never support Naughty Dog ever again. How dare you insult the old fans such as myself on social media as president. Yes, this is the co-president of Naughty Dog now, essentially saying if you don't like The Last of Us Part 2, you're a hater. Oh my godsies. Activate Last of Us 2 fans. Ellie's got a guitar and she's rubbing a Vargu against another. Yeah, The Last of Us and Naughty Dog and Cuckers, ever since we got all the stuff that came out about him, his love for a certain AS and her absolute dog shit takes on video games, to me just shows that the company's going one way and it's down the shitter. And I can't think of anyone who I'd rather have at the helm than Cuckers as he gets flushed down the toilet. So there we go, folks. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Yes, links are in the description box down below. It's the hair. It loses my power. I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.